Dr. Azmayesh, the floor is yours. We are all looking forward to your lecture.
Dear friends, thank you very much to be here to listen about the Quran and the verses of the Quran and the new researches about the Quran. Can you hear me? It is enough loud, yes. So it was a lot of things which were said about the Quran and about the Islam during 15th centuries based on riwayats and sayings attributed to the Quran, attributed to Prophet Muhammad, attributed to the saint in Islam. The things such as Muhammad was an illiterate person who got a revelation all of a sudden when he was 40 years old in the depths of the cave of Hira, and from that moment a lot of things were revealed to him, and etc., etc. So the things such as the fact that the Quran was not written in the time of Prophet Muhammad but collected maybe 2 centuries after his death by different people, etc., etc. Now, according to the recent discoveries about the Quran of Tübingen and the Quran of Birmingham, so we know that the Quran was a written book in the life period of Prophet Muhammad. And it is very, very important paradigm already about the researchers about the Quran, to know better the Quran. Because according to these discoveries, especially about the Surat al-Kahf in the Quran, the companion of the covenant, we see the place of each verse and the surah correspond absolutely with the book that we have in our hand nowadays. And the Quran of Birmingham is supposed to be written during the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad. So it means that the Quran was already a book, chapterized, verse by verse and surah by surah in the time of Prophet Muhammad under his watching, and not something which happened after him. So this is a very important fact. From other side, Prophet Muhammad was supposed to be a person who was living between the Bedouin contemporary tribes who were wandering in the desert of Arabia, and they didn't know reading and writing, and Muhammad was one of them. So it is supposed to be like this, but it is not true. There are a lot of things which show us that it is a wrong supposition. So Prophet Muhammad was an educated person, and he would like to spread an educational system between people, between them he was living. So before Prophet Muhammad, in the peninsula of Arabia, the family, the principle, the concept of family was meaningless. So Prophet Muhammad, in order to create the society, the civilization, he stressed on the importance of the social contracts, uqud. And he stressed first in the contract of marriage between the free will man and free will woman. So he created the concept of the family unit, in order to create a solid civilization. So it is a paradigm, and a lot of things that we can talk to each other during the conversation. So what was said by Prophet Muhammad is collected in 114 surat in the Quran, 114 surat, and 6,346 verses. And all in all, the verses regarding the order, the religious order, are 251. So statistically, you can see the importance of these part inside of the Quran. The Quran stresses another thing. The world vision of the Quran is important. The creation of the universe, cosmos, the cosmical law from one side, and the place of al-insan, genderlessly, man and woman. It's very important in the universe and the goal of the creation. So we can say that Jahan, universe, Kayhan, Kainat, Al-Insan, human being, and Janan, it means heaven, paradise. The goal, the final, the ultimate point, the goal of the substantial evolution process. So this is the frame of the Quran. It is because of this that the verses regarding the cosmos in the Quran, under the title, under the denomination of As-Samawat wal-Ard, plurally As-Samawat and singularly As-Sama. أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج. أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم. Why they don't turn their attention to the space upon their head? So he would like to change the paradigm, to look at the universe. So repetitively it is written in the Quran that by looking at the universe, you can change your world vision. So I would like to mention, and you mentioned the translation, please. So from Surah An-Nahl, the verses number 78, والله أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة. And in another verse it is written إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا. So it is 190 and 191 from Alte. And سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. فصلت 53. So Islam is a process according to the Quran, the process of the heart healing. Heart healing. So in the Quran, we have two opposite words. One is soqm. Soqm means sickness, illness. And the opposite of sickness and illness, health, is selm. So the substantial evolution, which the departure point is soqm and the end is selm. It is about the tradition of Abraham. فَنَّدَرَ نَدْرَةً إِلَى النُّجُومِ فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. He had a look at the universe and he analyzed his universe, his world vision, and he told, I am not stable. I am in bad state. It is said by Abraham. And he ended this inner travel, إن من شيعته لإبراهيم إذ أتى ربه بقلب سليم. When he met his Lord with an immune heart, not only healthy heart, but vaccinated heart. So this is this process. This process is named Islam. Anyway, so when Prophet Muhammad was talking about always, was preaching, was talking, was giving lectures, talking to people, reciting the verses, the sentences, people, the contemporary Bedouin, the wanderer of the desert, they told him openly, we don't understand, even not one word of everything which you are talking about. And we don't accept to believe to what you are talking. لَن نُؤْمِنُ بِهَذَا. We don't accept. Either you change the content of your speech or you change and bring another book. Precisely it is written in the Quran. So it is a long period of rejecting, of confrontation, etc., as you know, which lasted 20 years of the life of Prophet Muhammad. So finally, Prophet Muhammad entered peacefully and victoriously into Mecca. And those people who, till that moment, they were fighting Prophet Muhammad in order to reject the Quran, they accepted to convert to Islam verbally by saying that we confess that the God is one and you are sent by God. You are messenger of Allah. So by this they converted and integrated to the Muslim community. But their mind and their heart didn't change. So from that moment, they stopped fighting the Quran and fighting Prophet Muhammad. They accepted Islam verbally according to their own interpretation of the verses of the Quran. And it happened in the time, in the life period of Prophet Muhammad. They made the mosques, they made the imam, they made the preachers in order to brainwash people. So it was another version of Islam which was born in the city of Medina where Prophet Muhammad and his companion, they were living. So this category of Islam is explained in a lot of verses in the Quran under the title of al-munafiqun, the hypocrite, whose tongue and whose heart are going in two directions. So, in reality, the Islam of al-munafiqun is absolutely the antithesis of the Islam of Prophet Muhammad, which was on the continuity of the path of Hanif, the monotheism, according to the teachings of Prophet Abraham and other prophets, etc. So it is the resume that I try to explain in this book. Now I am ready to answer to the question that you have.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask a couple of questions. It's not going to be a statement. So, if Islam is a process leading from the state of Sukm to the state of Silm, what about other religions? Do they have place in this process, or it is an exclusive process which does not allow any place for any other process, or there are parallel processes, similar processes in other religious traditions? So here's the question of religious pluralism. No, it's not my final question. I missed the word revelation in your lecture. Revelation. Is the Quran a product of revelation or isn't it? It would be interesting to hear your opinion on that. You know, you are in a scholarly milieu, so it can only be difficult questions. So, in your spiritual reading of the Quran, you left unmentioned controversial, problematic verses like those calling to jihad, or this very famous controversial verse, especially in the West, about beating women, and so on. So what do you do with such verses? Do you ignore them, or do you consider them as just historical verses which are no more valid today? So how do you do, what do you do with these verses? And my final question, you reminded me of Hegel. He spoke of these and antithese, but he offered a synthese. So where is the synthese? So,
thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of these beautiful and reflected questions. So, first of all, I would like to say that the Arabic writing, the Arabic calligraphy existed before the existence of the Quran, at least for 100 years. And we have now the historical evidence for this. So we know the evolution of the Arabic calligraphy in two sides. So one is from the Nabataean origin, which are changed to Al-Yahudiyyah. It was a kind of Arabic alphabet which was used in Al-Madinah, in the city of Al-Yathrib, by the Jewish scholars who were translating some books and scriptures in a dialect of Arabic language which was named Yahudiyyah. And it was written in a calligraphy which changed later on to Al-Kufi alphabet, which is very known nowadays. But in parallel and before this, we have another category of Arabic alphabet which remained unknown till the researchers permitted to discover the existence of this category of alphabet, which was named Al-Musnad. And it was the evolution of the fourth category of Syriac alphabet. We changed to Al-Musnad, and from Al-Musnad to Al-Jazm, and from Al-Jazm to Al-Hijazi. So the book that we found recently, the example of the Quran of Birmingham and Tübingen and Saint Petersburg and Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris, etc., are written, which are the oldest example of the Quran, at least 100 years before the Kufi calligraphy of the Quran. The Quran, the example of the Quran, which is named the Quran of Ottoman. So it is a fact, it is a historical fact. If you are not happy with this, so you must criticize this fact and to show that Al-Musnad was invented after the Quran, or Al-Jazm was invented after the Quran, or Al-Hijaz. It is not possible. It is the fact that we have. It is dated. So it was in the University of Birmingham officially, according to the last technology of age dating, it is fixed the date of the parchment on which this book, these sentences were written. And the ink, they analyzed the ink, when this ink was used to write down on that parchment. So it is fixed, now it is fixed, it is a fact. So if we bring under doubt the fact that the Quran was written lately after the death of Prophet Muhammad, or 100 years later, or 200 years later, we must criticize this fact. So when, for example, Luxembourg or other researchers, they wrote their book, they introduced their thesis, they didn't know the existence of the example of the Quran of Birmingham. Now the time changed. It is a new fact. It's very important. The historical discovery. So I went to the reserve of the book in Birmingham, and I talked with the responsible of that reserve, and we took some pictures from the book and all of the process that they did. So now they have the certainty about it, the scientific certainty. So it is not the difference of opinion about the matter. It is a historical fact. So it is one thing. The second thing is that there are a lot of verses in the Quran, verses in the Quran in which different words from different languages are used. So as Muslim, you say that اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. So siratis means path, means way. But in which language? In Greek language. So what does it do? What is doing in the Quran, in the prayer, daily prayer of each Muslim? How Prophet Muhammad, he knew this word. How an illiterate person can know this wide treasure of the vocabularies and expression. So, فَخْلِ نَعْلَيْكَ, نَعْلَيْكَ, in place of shoes. So it is a Farsi word, or وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِي. Wazir is Farsi word, etc. So I don't want to waste your time by all of this, but these are the facts that we are talking about. So the relationship between the Quran and a Syriac book pre-existing the Quran in the Aramaic culture, between the Gnostic people who were living in the south of Syria, in Bosra, and in Jordany, in the border with Arabia, in the north of Arabia. So they were the Gnostic people. Between them, it existed a lot of Manichaean person, Mazdakian person, and people who were named Siddiqin. واذكر في الكتاب إدريس إنه كان صديقا نبيا ورفعناه مكانا عليا. So these are the words which are used in the Quran. So what was the particularity of the Siddiqin? So Siddiqin was a community, a monotheist community who was living in the border of the Dead Sea in Al-Qumran. And they had the scriptures, the treasure of all of the parchment and scriptures that recently they found. So these are the facts which were unknown 50 years ago. We must base our research on the new discoveries about the Quran. We cannot repeat what was said for 15 centuries. So it is very important. So what is the place of wahy or revelation? It's very important. So the Quran is wahy, is based on wahy. So as I explained, it is written in the Quran that when a person, man or woman, is born, no, not the concept of the fetus in the womb of the mother of a human being gives to that person, that being, the place of human being who is the vicar of God, who is the representative of God on the earth, genderlessly. And he has the crown of Karamat of Allah upon his head. وَكَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. There is no difference between the children of Adam regarding the gender of that person. So the Quran, when the Quran would like to talk about human being, it doesn't talk about man or homme, like in English language or in French language. It is talking genderlessly. It is using the word of al-insan. It is using the word of al-bashar. It is using the word of an-nas. It is using the composition of Bani Adam. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. So in the Quran, the woman rights. So I will explain you some very important thing, that in the Quran you have a surat entirely which is named Suratul Insan, the surat of human being. And you have another surat which is named Suratul Nisa, the surat of woman. And you don't have any surat about ar-rajul, about man, about male. It means the right of the women equal the right of humanity. And there are a lot of things to say. So about في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. The heart which is saqim, it means it is carrier of a lot of disease. So marad is disease. Sugm is a heart which is, because of a lot of disease, the stock of imbalance. And the heart with selm, it is a stable heart which is full of sakinah, quietness. So the word of Islam means bringing the healing, the health into the heart. And the way, the path of unity is named Islam. It is not the religion of Muhammad. It is not a religion fabricated by Muhammad. It is a wrong idea. Islam is a path. It is written in the Quran. Millat abikum Ibrahim. It is the school of your father Abraham. وَهُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And he gave you the name of Muslim. It is not up to Muhammad to give any name to anybody. So it means the way, the path of unity and monotheism is named Islam. وَاللَّهُ يَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى دَارُ السَّلَامِ. So the paradise, the heaven is named in the Quran the palace of peace. And God invites you to that palace. So salam is one of the names of God into the Quran. Salam, peace, health. So what is said under the name of Islam from the Umayyad dynasty on into the history has nothing to do with the Quran. There are a lot of things which are said by the fuqaha in the frame of the theology, by the clergy, which are totally absent in the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, such as stoning. It is a part of penal law in the Islamic tradition, which pre-existed in the peninsula of Arabia, but it is a tradition of the tyrant according to the Quran. It doesn't have any place in the prophetic tradition according to the Quran, but it is used in the Muslim communities, or the imposed veil. So it is very interesting that you don't find hijab, the word of hijab, is used into the Quran as the veil between visible and invisible world, but never used as the imposed veil. There are 310 verses about the cosmos in the Quran. People, they don't talk about. And any verse about veil exists in the Quran, and people, they stress upon it. It's very strange. And the circumcision of the girls. It is a tradition which is used in the Quran, in the Islamic tradition in many countries, but it doesn't have any place. Never it is mentioned in the Quran. So there are a lot of things which are usually employed by the clergy as the Islamic law in concordance with the fabricated superstition under the name of revayat, which has nothing to do with the verses of the Quran or saying of Prophet Muhammad. So the tyrant, they need all of this superstition to replace the teaching of monotheism and Din Hanif, by all of this superstition. So what was said about the tradition of Junaid and etc., and the language of the Quran, which was considered as the poetry. It is not a new thing that we know that the Quran is full of rhythm, of vibration, and when it is exactly translated, it brings life and energy into the heart. So there are a lot, but I prefer to answer to your question. If you have any question, please.
What would you do with verses which are problematic, which are...
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So many thanks to the professor who reminded me. So listen, please. The word of dharaba is used in the Quran 53 times. And never the meaning of this word is to beat, never. So it is written into the Quran in the Surah of Al-Kahf about the companion of the cavern, When they sat together, they were 7 persons that they sat down in a circle together with their dog. And it is written into the Quran that وَضَرَبْنَا بِآذَانِهِمْ, that we closed their ears in order not to be bothered by any voice, by any noise, to sleep for 310 years. It is the case of the 7 sleepers in the Quran. So here it is used the word of zaraba. So literally, if you would like to translate, it means that we beated on their ears. We gave a beat to the ear of everybody between them. And it doesn't work like this. It means that we close their ears in order not to hear anything from the outer world, to sleep deeply and quietly. So zaraba is used in the Quran as an auxiliary word. It means that it is written وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَعْقِلُونَ. We give example. So the most important part in the Surah of An-Nisa, which is absolutely wrong translated as far as I read the translation in French language and in English language. I didn't study the German language in order to read the book translated in German language. I don't know. But zaraba is employed as it is meaning today, which was not used with the same meaning in the time of Prophet Muhammad. So what does it mean exactly? It means that when there is a difference between husband and wife, so they are in conflict with each other. Because before, as I explained, it was the tribal tradition, and Muhammad created the familial concept. Before, it didn't exist. And when people, so the women, they got the same and equal rights with men inside of the house, so the conflict started somehow. They wouldn't like the women to be obedient to men as they were before Islam, before Prophet Muhammad. So in certain families, the fight and the conflict started. So they went to Prophet Muhammad and they asked him, so in the Quran, there are 12 questions which were posed by people, and it is written, يَسْأَلُونَكَ. They posed the question, this is the answer. So one of the question, يَسْتَفْتُوكَ. They asked fatwa, the decree from Muhammad. What is your answer to this problematic? When a man and a woman inside a house, they cannot be together with each other. How to do? So when Muhammad is talking and the Quran is talking about, it is about the familial court. It is about the place of judge, arbitrator between man and woman, husband and wife. It doesn't talk to man. It is a wrong understanding about the Quran teaching in this verse. It is very important. And it is one thing. And the second thing, it doesn't exist any controversial verse in the Quran if you read and study the verses of the Quran according to a chronological order of revelation. Because the verses of the Quran are divided between muhkamat, mutashabahat, Makki, Madani, Nasikh, Mansukh. There are the verses which are said by the Quran, and later on, when this gradual system of education was discovered that it is necessary to change that order, Muhammad abrogated that order and gave another order. So the most important principle inside of the Quran is the principle of abrogation, of annihilation, of one order by another one. So when you know how to read, how to chapterize the verses of the Quran according to a chronological order, you see that it is a method of gradual education. It is not controversial at all, and it is important.
Thank you. Bitte.
You said Muhammad wrote the Quran. The Quran was written during the lifetime of Muhammad. Was Muhammad able to correct the Quran or to supervise the writing or not? Or is it important that the Quran was written during lifetime or later on, or is it only interest for scientific reasons?
Can we collect some questions and then you give the answer? Because your answers are too long for the evening. Andere Fragen? Ja, Maha.
Just to add to this point, because you talked at the end about the chronological
Order
of the Quran, and this would contradict what you have said, that the Quran is written in the time of Muhammad. So when it is written in the time of Muhammad, then it means actually that chronological order was already also made in the time of Muhammad. So it's a little bit of contradiction here, just adding to that question.
You see, one more professor, one more critic. So, ja, bitte.
It's a longer question. Sorry. Thank you for your thoughts. And I'm a bit confused about the word, the meaning of being a Muslim. Because for me, originally, a Muslim is, as we all know, someone who goes to a mosque to pray. But you say Islam means path to God or to Allah. And the first time I read the Quran, I was astonished about the verses, because if you can look in the stars, you see God. If you see the bee, you will recognize God. So my question is it possible there are two different meanings or two different definitions of being Muslim inside of the Quran? Because I think it's in a wide sense, the definition of being a Muslim is to recognize, to see God everywhere He revelates Himself, or is it in a concentrate form just to follow Muhammad? So is a Muslim who is devoted to God, or is a Muslim just to follow God? So I'm a bit confused about the word being Muslim. Also in German translation, everybody speaks about Muslims, but Muslim is an Arabic word for being devoted to God. So why we can translate the word Muslim into German in its original way? So I'm interested about your opinion about my thought.
So, excuse me, I prefer to answer because this question,
yes,
it needs the explanation.
Yes, please use the microphone, please.
Yes. Regarding your question about the writing of the book in the time of Prophet Muhammad, so we must base on hypotheses, on the fact, historical fact. So the historical fact which have now is the Quran, the example of the Quran of Yemen. So we have this book. So it was written once, and after it was deleted, and upon that text it was written another time. And now with the new technology, we are able to read both of them, which don't correspond with each other. You understand? So it means that in the time... No, the order is the same. but the words, not the order.
No, but the question is, if I may intervene and explain. Yes. The question was, if the whole scripture, the whole Quran, was written during the lifetime of a prophet,
yes.
So why they did not write the scripture according to the chronological order?
Yes. So it was right, but I am explaining, it is your question as well. It means that, for example, take this example that you know the book of Hafiz, or the Bible, for example. You know by heart the Bible, the whole Bible by heart. But you are mentioning and reciting from time to time different part of the Bible. And after, when you would like to collect the Bible as an entire book, you return back to the original aspect of the Bible, which pre-existed before your preaches. So it is just like this, because the chronological order of the Quran is not respected in the example that we have now. It is absolutely sure and certain that the chronological order is not respected. For example, the first 5 verses of the Quran, which are revealed, supposed to be revealed to Prophet Muhammad, are between, it is the 90 verses, 90 surah of the Quran. It should be in the beginning of the Quran. It is placed in the end of the Quran. But why? The reason is that Muhammad, when he was talking to the people, the contemporary people, all the time he was referring to another book which pre-existed the Quran. The particularity of the Quran is not that it is the first book which is revealed, but the first book which is ever revealed in Arabic language. In Arabic language. Before the Quran, any other book in Arabic language existed. The Quran is the first book for the Arabian speaking people. So this is the only particularity of the Quran. The teachings of the Quran, which is the source of this book, pre-existed the Quran. And Muhammad say, if you don't believe to the exactitude of what I am telling you, go and ask the knowledgeable people from the Jewish community. They can certify the exactitude of what I am saying you. It means that it pre-existed. And about Muslim that you say, so قالت الأعراب آمنا. It is written in the Quran that when the wanderer of the desert, they converted to Islam, they told, we are people of the faith. So we accepted to be people of the faith. آمنا. قولوا أسلمنا. Tell that you are accepted the Islam. You are not still in the stage of mu'min. You are just Muslim. وَلَا تُدْخِلُوا الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. The light of faith is not penetrated into your heart. So it means it is a process. And it is written in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladina amanu, O people of the faith, aminu. Fortify, improve your iman. So it means that a person who is Muslim, he start to say, to confess the unity of God and the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad. He is converted, he is integrated in the community. But after, he has the obligation to do. And by doing the obligation, so as salat, for example, etc., etc., it is written as salatu amududdin. So the pillar of the path is praying. وَلَذِكْرِ akbar. But repeating the reminder of God is more important than salat. So, etc. So it is a continual practice which brings the heart in, the light into your heart. And this light brings the quietness and self into the heart. So when you are in process to get heart, you are Muslim. And when you reach to leave the darkness of ignorance and to enter in the kingdom of light, you are Salim. This is the process.
All right. Weitere Fragen? Ja, bitte.
Thank you for advocating a very soft version of Islam. And I have a question concerning your interpretation of the principle of abrogation. Abrogation does not support the soft version of Islam, but the violent version, because you can argue that the Medinencian verses abrogate many of the softer verses that were uttered in Mecca. So how do you deal with this problem?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful question.
So it is. What was said in Mecca are more the explanation about the cosmical world vision. The place of Ahkam al-Quran are more in Medina. When the Quran is talking, it is talking about the world vision. When Prophet Muhammad gives example of the seeking of Abraham to reach to the quietness, to yaqeen, certainty, etc. So it is about this inner seeking, to open the inner eye of the heart and to reach to the certainty. So it is very important, as I explained. When he was living in Medina, people who integrated the Muslim community, they went to him and they told, we are drinking. How to do when we are drunk? So Prophet Muhammad told them not to go to pray when you are drunk, till you understand what you say. So he didn't say, stop drinking. He told, don't pray. Praying is very important, but at least you must know what you are saying. So he told them not to pray when you are drunk. But can you consider this as an authorization to drink? No, because it is abrogated by a second verse. They ask you about drinking. Explain that in drinking there are the benefit and there are the bad things. So avoid if you are people of the faith. So this is the abrogation of the first one. And there is another stage that it is written very, very firmly, drinking and playing the game is forbidden absolutely. If you are people of the faith, avoid them. So this is the last verse about the place of drinking in Islam. Or for example, in the pre-Islamic time, it was a tent, it was a man, and men went, they took the hand of the women and they brought under their tent as far as they would like. Women, they didn't have any social place. So Prophet Muhammad started to put a limit. He told not more than 4 ones when you get married with them. And after he abrogated, he told just 1, if you are people of the faith. So he abrogated. This is the meaning of abrogation in muhkamat, in ahkam. But he didn't change anything regarding the world vision that he explained when he was in Mecca. When he was in Mecca, he told exactly the same principle that he did, and the last sentence in the Quran about the place of human being is said about tolerance, about altruism in the Surah of Al-Insan, which is revealed in Medina and it explained the place of knighthood and chivalry, Futuwwat, which is very important.
Okay, vielen Dank. Eine kurze Zusammenfassung auf Deutsch.
Aus dem Koran abgewinnen kann, als nur diese eine Version, die damals Mohammed praktizierte. Würde ich gerne mal Ihre Einschätzung dazu.
Sie müssen helfen, ich habe nicht wirklich verstanden, was meint.
It's about the separation between the Quran and the Prophet. And, excuse me? It's about the separation between the Prophet and the Quran. And classically, we've learned that there is this separation, and because of the separation, the Quran has a universal value, and it outlives the Prophet. And for the Prophet, there is the Sunnah, the Hadith, and it's treated differently. So what would you say about this separation between the Prophet and the Quran? And between the particularity of the Prophet and the universality of the Quran. Habe ich das richtig interpretiert? And I would greatly appreciate it if you could be short.
So this question needs a lot of debate, and they are very, very, very important questions and very deep questions. So, of course, for us, what is important are the chronological teachings of the Quran. The chronological teachings of the Quran, the main aim and mission of Prophet Muhammad was to give the example of a virtuous society, a civilization. When we are reading, when we are studying the thesis of Al-Farabi or Averroes or other thinkers, etc., it is about a flourishing civilization. The example of this civilization in which human rights are respected absolutely, according to the Quran, is the example of the society which was built first by Prophet David and Solomon and the followers of David and Solomon and etc. And when Prophet Muhammad went to Yathrib and he changed the name of Yathrib to Al-Madinah, etc., it was in order to modelize this system of new society, new civilization. This is very important. It is the teaching of the Quran, especially in the Surah of An-Naml, Ant. So what is important for us is the teachings of the Quran. So Prophet Muhammad was a bashar, according to the Quran. قُلْ إِنِّي أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. So I am a man, I am a person as any other one. And I receive the revelation. I am like a loudspeaker, and that's all. So what is important is the depth of the message of the Quran. Thank you very much.